might be for you. No, wherever you want. Oh, I mean, I'm gonna move. Good point.
You're in the way.
No. We'll push this.
Slide with this.
All right, we'll get rolling in just a minute. Councillor Richter, just want to ensure you're there. I know you've had Wi-Fi issues and you'll probably keep your camera off, but just want to have everyone. There you are.
Yep, still here.
Still there, yeah. Good. Okay. So welcome, everyone. We are now running what we call a hybrid meeting. So Councillor Richter has zoomed in, and we changed our procedure bylaw to allow us to do this over the COVID period. So, so we do actually have a full council. So just want to let you know. So with that, I'm going to bring the regular meeting for purpose of public hearing to order. And prior to anything else, I have to read the preamble. A public hearing is a statutory requirement under Section 464 of the Local Government Act and must be held before third reading of a community plan, rural land use bylaw, zoning bylaw, land use contract amendment bylaw, heritage designation bylaw, or heritage revitalization agreement bylaw, which would change the use or density of use of property. During a public hearing, council acts in a quasi-judicial role for the purpose of allowing persons who believe their interest in property is affected by a bylaw, permit, or other matter to make representations to council either orally or by written submission, or add comments or elaborate upon correspondence that may have already been presented to council concerning the bylaws. It is important to note that council is not in a position to receive any additional information on the bylaws following the public hearing as dictated by case law. The hearing procedure involves an explanation from the Community Development Division on the purpose of the proposed bylaws and to hear from individuals regarding the bylaws. In order to ensure that all interested parties have a reasonable opportunity to be heard, speakers are requested to keep representations as brief and succinct as possible and no longer than 5 minutes, excluding time required for questions from council. Speakers will be asked to state their name, neighborhood, and city for the record, and if referring to prepared remarks, to submit copies of these to the Township Clerk. Decorum must be maintained at all times. This includes refraining from applause, booing, or heckling. To assist with large numbers of speakers, individuals must advise the Township Clerk and sign the speakers list prior to the commencement of the public hearing. The names on the speakers list will be read out during the hearing. Individuals who have already addressed council and wish to add further submissions will wait until the people that have not yet addressed council have had an opportunity to speak. All submissions and speakers lists are considered part of the public record. Council members should not express their views nor debate the bylaws, but may question speakers to clarify particular points in the submissions. Council may consider third reading or third and final adoption at this meeting or at the next regular meeting to be held on Monday, October the 18th of 2021 in the Fraser River Presentation Theatre on the 4th floor of 20338 65 Avenue, which is right here. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adopt and receive the agenda items. Councillor Davis moves it, Councillor Kunst seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. We don't have any development permits. We have one public hearing, and this is C1, and it's the official community plan amendment and rezoning application number 100192 and development permit application number 101212. It's Compass Co-Housing, bylaw number 5736 and bylaw number 5737. So Mr. Richardson, if you could provide us with the background.
Thank you, Worship. I'll share the screen. So thank you, Your Worship. The subject Southwest Gordon Estate Neighborhood Plan Amendment, rezoning, and development permit applications pertain to a proposed development consisting of 40 condominium units in a proposed 3-story co-housing form at 20353 66th Avenue. The 1.32 acre site is designated multifamily in the Willoughby Community Plan and mixed use B in the Southwest Gordon Estate Neighborhood Plan. This air photo depicts the site located on the east side of 203rd Street, north of 66th Avenue. Proposed Southwest Gordon Estate Neighborhood Plan Amendment Bylaw 5736 proposes to remove the requirement for a commercial land use component in the mixed use B designation for the site and increase the maximum density permitted from 30 units to acre to 30.3 units to the acre to accommodate one additional unit. Rezoning Bylaw 5737 rezones the subject site from rural zone RU3 to comprehensive development zone 165 to accommodate the proposal. This slide indicates the proposed site plan with vehicular access from 203rd Street. The next series of slides are renderings, elevations, and the proposed landscape plan is indicated in Development Permit 101212. Staff recommends support of Southwest Gordon Estate Neighborhood Plan Amendment Bylaw 5736 and rezoning Bylaw 5737, subject to 10 conditions and Council's consideration of Development Permit 101212, subject to 4 conditions listed on page 9 of Council's agenda. Your Worship, a total of 1,517 notices were mailed out. 1 written submission has been received, and there were 4 individuals noted on the speakers list. Their names are John Frederickson, Dan Collins, Elizabeth Rosnan, and Lawrence Jensen. So once again, the first 2 names, John Frederickson and Dan Collins, Your Worship.
Great. Thank you very much for that. So I'll now ask John Frederickson to please come forward. And again, for the record, to state your name and where you live. And also you will have, yes, that mic there. And I will give 5 minutes for your presentation, and I'll let you know when you get close. I think there's blinking lights there they still there? No, they're not there anymore. Okay, lost them in COVID. So I'll let you know when you get to the 5 minutes so you can wrap up if you're...
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name is John Frederickson. I co-own a home in Brookswood in the Township of Langley. I currently live just down the hill in the city of Langley. I lived in Brookswood for about 15 years or so, and I loved everything about that neighborhood, especially the people. I knew my neighbors incredibly well. I spent lots of time with them. We helped each other out, and it was incredibly social. In 2018, my wife and I separated, and I left the family home. I was devastated on many, many levels. One piece that I was really lamenting and unhappy about was that I didn't think I would ever find a community like that again. I was out for dinner with some people one night a few months later, and a friend of mine reminded me of co-housing. I went home and I did a search, and I found Compass. I went to a meeting and I loved the idea and I loved the energy at the meeting. I became a member and was eventually able to buy in properly. I've been a part of this community for 1.5 years. In Compass, I've managed to find a group of people consciously trying to create the kind of community I lost. It's been beautiful. I believe that people do better when they work together. One of the suggestions Robert Fulgham made in his book, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, was hold hands and stick together. I think that's good advice. It's what we're trying to do, and I really hope you will support us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will go to the next, and the next speaker's name, again, I didn't write it down.
Thank you, Worship. Dan Collins.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, folks. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Dan Collins. I live in the city of Langley, but I've been the Chief Executive Officer of the Inclusion Langley Society for the last 30 years. Many of you will know that Inclusion Langley Society is a nonprofit that's 62 years old this year and an important asset to our community. We support children, youth, and adults with intellectual disabilities and a growing number of individuals with autism spectrum disorder. About 1,300 to 1,500 individuals a year. of which about 500 are adults. And part of the mandate of our organization is to assist people to find place and belonging and connection in community through economic inclusion, through social inclusion, through work, through friends, connections, and relationship. And for many of the folks that we serve, finding that in community has been elusive. And so that's where Compass comes to mind for me. We've had a connection with the project since its sort of inception. And I guess for all intents and purposes, see Compass as a mirror of what our community can be. That it reflects the diversity that we hope for. It reflects the laudable aspiration of a truly inclusive, welcoming, and hospitable neighborhood. So we're delighted to be supporting a number of individuals who we hope will be permanent residents. Our organization itself is exploring equity membership as well in Compass, and a family or two that we support have also begun that process. So for us, Compass creates community. What's really fascinating for me is that it's been the opposite of what we typically experience, where we're trying to support community to understand the value of inclusion and of welcoming folks who are vulnerable or who are different. In this case, Compass is welcoming us. Compass has been searching out the individuals that we support. Compass has been extending welcome to folks that really have a dream to belong in community. So we're totally in support of this project and hope you will be as well. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Okay. And the next name?
Next speaker, Your Worship, Elizabeth Rosanen.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I am
Can you just give your, I know we've got your name, but just for the record, your name
Oh, I'm sorry.
and where you live.
Thank you. You told me that and I forgot
That's
already.
okay. That's okay.
My name is Elizabeth Rosenau and I live in Maple Ridge. I've been there for well over 30 years, raised 3 children there. And ingrates that they are, they all moved out after they became adults, leaving me completely by myself and, like John, looking for community. And around about the same time as John joined, I started to hang out with these folks as well. And our meetings were at Windsong, which was beautiful. This was before the pandemic. So we could actually see a co-housing community in action. And we could, right away I was lured in. I've lived in housing co-ops many years ago in my 20s, and I understand community. And I don't have it where I am now. So being a single woman, the appeal of community was amazing. Now, who are the people in Compass? Like I coached Special Olympics for 8 years, which makes me a great match to Inclusion Langley. But we also have a retired teacher who worked with special needs people. We have a retired occupational therapist. The number of people we have who have done some community service, some volunteer gig is incredible. I'm looking at somebody who's right now training a dog to be a service dog one day, but we also have 2 other members who are involved in dog rescue societies. So every single one of us has brought not just an incredible career generally, but also an incredible commitment to civic engagement. And so that was my draw. I thought, these are my people. I just felt instantly at home with these people. A lot of them are well-traveled. Many of them speak several languages. In fact, several of them have been born in other countries, like Colombia. We have an associate member, a family from Korea, having a good look at us. It's just, the diversity is incredible. And so I feel like we're a little United Nations. I feel like we have a lot to offer. If there's a park next to us, there's several people in our group who have run community gardens or belong to community gardens. So if a community garden was to end up there, I'm sure our people would be very involved in one way or another, cooperating with you guys, with LEPS, whoever it might be. It's an incredible group of people, and we're building community, and now we just need the buildings to live in. So I really hope you'll look at our application favorably. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the next speaker?
Last name on the list, Your Worship, Lawrence Jensen.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Jansen. I live on actually 20353 66th Avenue and have had the honor of living on there and taking care of the place for the township as long as they've owned it. And it was on the request that the property would become a park. And so my father is here, and it was a little bit discouraging. I'm not against co-housing. I think that is a great group of people that like to, make communities work, right? I think I'm here more for my mom's request of making it a park. And it was her dream to make that so that people can go there and have a place of peace and rest. And as I was living there, I would tell all the older people in the seniors complex that one day this is going to be a park. And they were so looking forward to it. And anyways, I think that's what I'm here for. I support co-housing, but I also support my parents' a request on having it a park. And so it was going to be named the Shalom Jansen Park. And I'm one of the siblings of this whole family that had previously owned it before the township. But I thank you so much for letting me come here and express my views. I don't want to be diverse with the co-housing group. I want to work together, and I just, think this is a great meeting that we can get together here and share with one another. I hope that all made sense. I fly by the seat of my pants here, so thank you so much.
That's the best. I do have a question from a member of council, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Councillor Ferguson.
Yes.
I did want to ask you, I mean, it goes back quite a ways now. Do you remember the Shalom, how big that was supposed to be? Can you remember how big the park was supposed to be?
Yes. Actually, in the sale of the property, the way it was worded was it was requested that it would be a park. But my parents were under the impression that it was going to be a park because they had sold it to another, other developers offered him more money, and it was the township that they sold to for a little bit cheaper under that request because they said it would be a park one day.
Okay, and also there used to be a school beside it as well.
Yeah, there was a school as well, right?
Thanks.
And I think there was some works in the makings in the work, or work in the making, that they want to tie all that together.
Very good. Thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so they exhaust the speakers list. So I will ask, and I have to ask 3 times for submissions from the public. And once I've exhausted the submissions from the public, then the proponent has an opportunity to speak, to respond to any of the concerns or issues raised by the public. So I'm going to ask if there's anyone else from the public who would wish to provide a submission. And for a second time, is there anyone from the public who would wish to provide a submission? And for a third time, are there any further submissions from the public? Seeing that there are none, I now close the public portion of this public hearing. I would ask if the proponent would like to provide a submission.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. It's nice to be here again after many, many, many years. Actually, not here. I forget where I was.
Just provide your name and...
Tim Ankenman, architect. Care of my office, 1645 West Fifth Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Might need a little bit of technical. There we go. And I can minimize that maybe. And as there hasn't been a lot of contention tonight, and actually I thought that I went right after Mr. Richardson, but apparently not. So I'll actually just kind of maybe.
Mr. Ankerman?
Yes.
sorry, just you need to close the share screen and share your screen again such that members of council can see what you're saying.
Oh,
And
close the share screen.
Yeah, no, I understand. Some councils, I guess they hear from the proponent before the public, and we tend to hear from the proponent after the public. So I know it varies throughout the Lower Mainland, or throughout BC.
Can we all see now?
Yep.
Fantastic. So, again, thank you very, very much for providing myself and Compass with this opportunity. We've put a lot of work into this particular project. It's a real little gem of ours, and we, I think, got hired because we did Vancouver's first co-housing project. So that kind of was a big learning curve for us that we were able to bring to this particular one. This is our development team. With respect to the last gentleman's concern, we're not certain, but there's certainly the Fort is right away in front of the site, and there's also the opportunity for the remainder triangle of land down on the corner that could become a neighborhood park at some point. It's actually a huge amount of land that would be remaining after the site goes ahead. As you all know, very likely co-housing is a very different tenure of housing than typical condos. And the other sort of interesting ingredient is that in order to reduce the unit size and therefore make it affordable, there's generally about a 25% amenity space contribution to the project, unlike most projects, strata projects, where there might be 5% with one sort of a meeting room for the strata or whatever. This is a full-on amenity offering, and that's really what guides the community from turning it into a community, rather. I don't think I need to explain what co-housing is, and if there's questions at the end, I can certainly answer them. And it's certainly not to be confused with co-op housing. It's very, very different. But what is consistent between co-housing and co-op housing is this is all non-for-profit. It's not being proposed by one developer, one individual. This is residents that come together at the outset and make a go of it. Overview: there's 60 underground parking spaces, 6 visitor at the front entry at the heart of the project. Access is off of 203rd. I think the crossing is just about where it is now. It's a triangulated site, so we end up designing a north block and a south block. The north block is 3 stories from the courtyard. South block is 2 stories from the courtyard, but there's a grade change between that and the forest right away. And then in the heart of the project is the common house with all the common amenities in it. We've really been able to sort of work with membership in terms of the various socioeconomic demographics and users that are going to be there. So we have a variety of flats and 2-story townhomes, and what's kind of really interesting about these sections is that you'll note there's no common corridors there is in typical apartment buildings. This is all sort of exterior walkways, and what that allows the project to do is to have natural light and ventilation at both ends of the units and not rely on mechanical ventilation. And we're also hoping to we are going to be roughing in solar panels. Whether or not we can afford them right off the bat is to be determined. The courtyard scheme, of course, offers great benefits in terms of turning the sound off from the surrounding streets. The common corridors and the exterior corridors that look out onto the courtyard become extremely special places to meet. You'll see that we kind of design them so there's little sort of social gathering areas along those corridors, as well as lots of landscaping. The common house, of course, is in the heart of the project, and it's a 2-story volume in a spot in the main area. It allows the common house at nighttime to sort of become a beacon and glow. It's the heart of the development. West Coast Modern Design, we've hand-selected very natural materials, lots of corner windows, lots of large roof overhangs to ensure that the project is well protected. And again, a nice selection of colors and materials that are really inspired by nature. I think I've kind of explained most of this now. The Fortis right-of-way to the south of the project, potential future park, children's play area, veggie plots, rooftop amenity garden, et cetera, et cetera.
Just about wrapped up there.
Yeah, in fact, what I think I'll do is I'll just kind of skip to the end here. That is the common corridor that you see with the gathering areas. So affordability is key for any kind of co-housing project. City of Vancouver recognizes co-housing as in their social housing strategy. And along with that comes associated financial incentives, CAC waivers, grants, development cost levy waivers, et cetera. To date, we have 16 equity members, meaning that they've written a check. They've joined Compass, and that's what allows the project to continue. And we also have 10 more known as associate members. So we're sort of almost halfway there. And the associate members are sort of sitting on the fence waiting for final pricing. So how can you assist? We do have two issues and relatively significant costs that Compass has asked for council's consideration on. One is the CACs. This project, even though it is not for profit, it actually doesn't fall within council's policy for a CAC waiver. And that's really because this is the definition under section G. So we kind of meet the criteria for number 1 and number 2, but because we're not rental, and in fact the only parts that will be rental will be for the Inclusion Langley Society. The rest, of course, are sold. And so we would really enjoy a conversation with council as to whether or not there'd be consideration to waive the $181,000 in CACs. And finally, the park acquisition fees. We weren't sort of aware at the beginning of this project that we'd be looking to do the off-site Fortis right-of-way improvements. Those total approximately $270,000, so that's a pretty big hit on our budget. And if council directs us and staff to go ahead and do that improvement, then we'd therefore ask for council's consideration to waive the park acquisition fee to try and offset those costs that we weren't anticipating. We'd still, under that scenario, be absorbing an extra $90,000 that we didn't anticipate, but at least it would help make that become realized and ease the burden. I think that we're kind of finding that those two costs are somewhat redundant because we're improving sort of what becomes essentially a park, and in addition paying a park acquisition fee. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have one question just to clarify. You mentioned it's not co-op housing, it's co-housing.
Co-housing.
I'm a little bit familiar with some co-op housing where you purchase your unit for X number of dollars and you sell it for the same number of dollars whenever you decide to sell years down the road. Is this similar, or is it market value that these units will go up? So when someone decides to move on or sell it, do they sell it for the same price, or is it?
It's not the same price. Is there a cap?
Controlled?
It's market value.
Market value. Okay, good. That just helps. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. I don't have any questions from council. Thank you. Okay, so at this point in time, I think we do have the opportunity to look at third reading tonight, but because there has been a request from a proponent, I think we need some time to digest that. So unless council wishes to, I'm not going to ask for a motion to do third reading. It'll come to the next meeting. So okay. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to terminate. This C1 is now terminated. It's now complete. So I'm going to ask for a motion to terminate the meeting. Councilor Davis, and seconder, Councilor Whitmarsh. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you very much for coming out. We now have to reconvene back into our closed meeting to finish off our business. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll just give it 5 minutes and we'll come back.